When you first log into MyTruckMate, you'll be taken to the truck summary page. This page shows you a list of all your trucks, information about the truck, maintenance, scheduled maintenance intervals, what's due, what's not due. It shows you when the next time it's due, when the last time it was done for each one. For trucks that it's due soon, it'll show in yellow and say due soon. In addition, at the top, it'll let you know if your registration is expired or your DOT certificate or your IFTA. At the top, you'll see a barcode on every truck. This is the barcode that drivers use to scan when they get into their trucks. Sometimes these barcodes are damaged or missing from the truck, and the driver has no way of scanning that barcode. So you can use this to allow the driver to quickly scan it without having to print a new sticker and finding a printer. Next, we'll look here at service intervals. This is where you set up your scheduled maintenance. So for example, we have 3 different scheduled maintenance set up here. We have oil change, grease bearings, and air filter. Each box shows you the details about it. So for example, the oil change, it's due every 5,000 miles or 3 months, whatever comes first. The listed mechanic for this is William, and these are the trucks that are associated with this scheduled maintenance. So if we wanted to create a new one, click New, give it a name, let's call it Oil Change again. Set our mechanic, tell it how often we want it done, every 6,000 miles and every 2 months, whichever comes first. If we want to be notified or we want our mechanic to be notified, we turn this on and we pick the mechanic or the person we want notified. If we want to be notified early, we would set that to early, and early is defined as 500 miles or 14 days, whichever comes first. You can change the definition of early to whatever number you want in the settings page of the app. Finally, we select the trucks that we want to be associated with this scheduled maintenance and enter the last time the maintenance was done to this truck so the app has a baseline to work with. When we're done, click Save, and that's it. It would be set up for you, and you would see it here. Next, we'll look at the Outstanding Issues page. This shows you a snapshot of everything that needs your attention. The first section is scheduled maintenance. Then we have open service requests, DOT inspections that are due, and it starts at the beginning of the month. So if we're in August right now and anything is due by the end of August, it'll show us starting on August 1st that it's due. Same for the registration renewals and the IFTA renewals. So if we want to mark something as done, just click on it, set the date, the mechanic, the mileage, and any notes. So for example, we had this oil change done at 250,000. That the date is correct, the mechanic is correct. I don't have any notes. I just click continue, and that goes away, and it's entered as a service record for that truck. The same applies for the open service requests. Date, mechanic, mileage, and notes. You hit continue, and it's done. Automatically, a service record will be created for that. DOT inspections and registrations and IFTA work in a similar way. So let's say we had a DOT inspection done for truck 14417. Click update. It would ask for the new expiration date. We can upload a picture of that certificate so we have it in our records. You can take a picture with it of your phone while you're doing this. You don't need to do this on a computer. Click Save, and that'll automatically be updated in the system. Same for the registration and the IFTAs. Next, we'll look at updating your mileage. So for line haul trucks that use ELD, we can connect to your ELD system and automatically update our system in real time with your truck's mileage. But if you don't have that, or if you're a P&D, which most P&Ds don't have that, you would go into this page and you would update the mileage for all of your trucks and set the date of the update. Now, in most cases, if you want to use the same date for all, so let's change this to August 24th. I hit apply to all, it'll change it on all of them, just to save you a little bit of time going into each one and changing it. And then you can override any one if you choose. Just enter the mileage for each one. Hit save, and all those trucks will have their mileage updated in the system. Now we're going to talk about service records. When a truck has any scheduled maintenance or unscheduled repairs performed on the truck, a service record is created so that you can reference that in the future. The MMR also uses those to determine how to fill out that form. So if you need to create a service record manually, click Create New Service Record. It'll ask you the truck, the mechanic, the date the service was done, what was done. Now, you have a variety of pre-filled services that you can use. Notice there's a lot of gibberish here we put here too. You can set those up to have them pre-filled for you instead of having to type them in every time. So for example, fuel pump. Now as soon as you choose fuel pump, it checks the records to see if it was ever done in the past for this truck, and there was no prior record of this being done. If it was, you'd see how many miles and the date it was done last time. Now if you don't have, if it's something new that you haven't had before, you can click Other and give it a name. We can call it anything we want. So let's just put a little gibberish in there. And then we can set the system to save it for us for future use. Let's even give this one a name. Replace front windshield. So if we want to save this for next time, we would hit Save for future use, and then that replace front windshield would show in this list. If it's something we don't want to be reported on the MMR, just click that. It won't show on the MMR. Enter the mileage that it was done, and this just gives you a quick reminder of what the current mileage is for that truck. So you can use as a reference. So let's say it was done at 613,000. Then it'll ask you what the cost of it was. That's your choice. You can enter it. You can leave it blank. MyTruckMate is not an accounting system. It's not designed to keep track of all your bills, but you can have it as a reference so you know what you paid. You can do it by parts and labor, or you can just do it by total. So if I enter $50 here and $100 here, it automatically calculates it. If I just want to enter the total, let's say it was 200, I could just type in 200 and leave those two blank. It's up to you. It doesn't affect how the system works. Any notes you want to put in there, you can enter in there. You hit save, and that was entered as a service record. So if I go to look up my service records, We see it now here. Truck 14073, the date, the mechanic, no assigned invoice, and I'll get to that in a minute. The mileage, replace the front windshield, that's what the service was, the price I paid for it, and if I'm excluding it from the MMR. So here's a list of all my records from that truck between these two dates. If you want to look up different dates, obviously you can just change the date, hit update range, and it'll show you your records. You can also search by keyword. So for example, if I want to find anything related to the windshield, that's the only one it's going to show me now. That's the only time I did anything related to windshield. If I want to find oil changes, just type in oil. It'll show me every time I did anything related to oil. Now, a service record, as I mentioned before, is created automatically when you mark it as complete from the outstanding issues page that we were there before. But this allows you to create one by yourself too. As for invoices, what I said here, no invoice assigned. If you want to create it as an invoice can have multiple records within it. So let's say you brought your truck and had multiple things done. The mechanic would give you an invoice, and each line item is a service record. You might have an invoice for more than one truck. So one invoice has 3 different repairs, 2 on one truck and 1 on the other truck, but that'll be under one invoice. So we go to the invoices page, and this is optional. You don't have to use invoices, but this allows you to, and it also keeps the records. So let's say you want to keep invoices. Click Add New Invoice. It'll ask you for an invoice number. You can put whatever you want, whatever the invoice number is. If you leave it blank, if there is no invoice number, the system will just generate one by itself. Put the date of the invoice, the mechanic, click Next. Here you can upload pictures of the invoice. You can upload a PDF file, or you can upload a picture which you can take with your phone, or a JPEG or a PNG file. You can upload up to 3 individual files. That doesn't necessarily mean 3 pages. If you're using a PDF is one file, but it can have unlimited amount of pages within it. So you can upload the file, click Next. Then it's asking you what type of a record. Now, for example, that record that we just created, that's already in the system, so I would click Existing. If we needed to create a new record, then we would go to New. So let's start with New Record. We select the truck, the mileage that the service was done, again, the repair that was done, and it works just like it did in the service records. If you want to exclude it from the MMR or not, any notes, hit Next. The price, parts, labor, and total, you can do any combination if you want. That's up to you. You can leave it blank. Since you're doing an invoice, most likely you're going to want to enter the price. So let's say we put $50 for parts and $100 for labor. Automatically that's calculated to $150. Now we can add another record for the same truck, or we can say we're done and go to summary. So let's say we're done and go to summary. Here it shows us in an invoice format what we just entered. So here's our invoice number, the date, the mechanic. Here's the record that we just entered. And here's the subtotal. Tax, we can enter whatever the tax is. And here we can enter notes. The notes is for the invoices, not for the individual record in this case. Now, if we wanted to add more records, we click Add More Records. And again, we go through that process. Do we want to add an existing or a new record? So this time, let's say an existing record. Let's find that record that we just created before we came to the invoices. So we select the truck, and it was the front windshield. So if I select Add Record, it'll turn it green. And now that record's going to be added. Now let's say I have some other records here. These are all other records for that same truck that are in the system but are not associated with an invoice. Also, these records didn't have any price entered into them. So here's an opportunity that it's allowing me to enter the price. So let's say this was $75 for the parts, $50 for the labor, and $125 for the total. We can hit save, and that's added. Even if we don't add this record to the invoice, that already is saved for that record. Now let's add this record. So we're going to add these two records to the invoice. Go to the bottom of the page, hit next, and now we're taken to the invoice summary page again, which now it shows you the new record which we created, and it shows you the two existing ones which we added. Let's say we paid $30 in tax. The tax and total are calculated here, $505. Hit save invoice, and it's done. So now you created the new invoice with those three records. Two of the records you just created now, I'm sorry, one of the records we just created now, and two of them were already existing. We just added them to this invoice, or associated with them with this invoice. So now if we go back to the service records, before it said invoice not associated, now it shows us the invoice that it's a part of. Now we're going to look at the QR code feature. So if we go to the menu to QR codes, the first thing at the very top, you see the button that says View, Print, Save My QR Codes. So we click on that. And you see it gives you a list of your QR codes. Now for this video, just because of the video software that I'm using, the QR codes don't fit completely on the screen. But rest assured, on your computer screen or on your phone, they fit without being exceeding the size of the screen. So you have a list of QR codes for every truck. You can take these QR codes. This is a PDF file. You can save this to your computer, to your phone. You can take these QR codes to your local print shop and get stickers printed out for each truck, approximately $1, $2 a sticker. So once you get your QR codes printed and you put those stickers on your trucks, you can put them in the windshield or wherever you like. If a mechanic scans your QR code with their phone, keep in mind they don't need the app, just your regular iPhone or Android phone. They scan the QR code. This is what they'll see. They'll be taken to this page right away. What you see first of all down here, that's the same barcode that I talked about before for drivers to scan. It's just available mainly for the drivers. They can just scan the QR code in the truck and they'll get that barcode. It's just another way of getting it quickly and easily. But when a mechanic scans it, they would enter their PIN code, which you would supply them, and I'll get to that in a little while, how to get the PIN code. So enter the PIN code, you click submit. Now they scan the barcode for the QR code for truck 201674. This is what they see. They'll see some truck information. They'll have access to the DOT certificate, the registration, and the insurance card in case they drive the truck and they need it. They have access to it quickly. They see the maintenance status for that truck. They see if there's any open service requests, and they can look up the truck history. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you a different truck which has open service requests so you can see what that would look like. So here I'm logging into a different truck. Okay, truck 326076. It's due for an oil change, and it has an open service request for tires. So now when the mechanic logs in, they see the information. If the mechanic is actually doing this oil change, they can click mark as complete, set the date, change the mechanic. If it was assigned to a different mechanic, they can change the mechanic to themselves, enter the mileage. So let's say it's 175. Any notes if needed, continue. And now that's listed as okay, and the ability to update it is now gone. And then service requests work the same way. They can enter the date, enter the mileage, and enter their notes. One other feature I should mention is if a service request or a scheduled maintenance is assigned to a specific mechanic, right now the other mechanics can see it too, and they can change it. But there is a setting that hides those scheduled maintenances and service requests from other mechanics. You don't want them stepping on each other's foot and doing work that's assigned to someone else or doing double work. So you have the ability, and that's set by default actually, to hide it from other mechanics. Now you can hide it from other mechanics, or you can let the other mechanics see it but don't give them the ability to update it. Or you can let them see everything and let them update it. That's your choice. And then lastly, here we have the DOT and the insurance. The registration would also show, however, there was no registration uploaded for this truck. You can click on that, the mechanic can see it. And then here, report an issue. They can just type in some general issue and it gets saved, and it'll be shown in the app in your end where you can see it, and then you can decide how you want to proceed on it. So now I'm going to show you what the drivers see. So if the driver scans the same barcode, the same QR code, they will get to this same page that the mechanics get to. They'll have this barcode if they need it. Here they would enter their driver ID. Now it looks a little bit different. If you're using the clock in, clock out feature, this is what you'll see. The current time, clock in, it registers it and lets them know you've been clocked in. At the end of the day, if they are actually clocked in, instead of saying clock in, this will say clock out. They click clock out. That's it. If they forget to either clock in or clock out, the system will send them a text message reminding them, and it will also send you a text message and an email reminding you that such and such a driver failed to clock in or clock out. And then you can act appropriately. If you're not using the clock out feature, then you just won't see it kind of like this. Next, the drivers will see the checklist section. If you assign checklists for drivers to do, then they will see this. And also depending on which truck. So some trucks may have a checklist or a different checklist. So this is specific to the truck that the driver has scanned. For example, we have test checklist that's due every day. So if the driver clicks run checklist, they'll see the test checklist. They need to enter the miles if it's specified required. You do have the option when you create checklists not to require mileage. So let's say 200,000, and here we have lights, horn, washer, etc. So if they all pass, you just click pass, and you can put, the driver could put any notes in there. Same for fail, they can put any notes. So let's just go pass, fail, fail, and pass. Put a note in one of them. And also one other thing I should note, when there's a setting that you have when you create the checklist, that the mileage entered when creating the checklist will actually update that truck's mileage. You have that choice to allow a checklist to update or not. Hit submit. This is a little outside the viewing window, but it just asks you, are you sure you want to submit? That's just outside the video area. Normally you would see it. So here it just gives you a quick summary of what happened and return to dashboard. Okay, and then the final section is just the general information about the truck that the driver is driving. They have the access to the DOT registration and insurance, and just the maintenance history. They cannot change any of that. Next, I will show you the mileage report. It's just a basic list of all your trucks and the 100 most recent mileage updates. So it shows you the date that the mileage was updated, the mileage, and the difference. At the bottom, you'll see average miles per day based on a 7-day work week, based on a 6-day work week, and a 5-day work week. Same for all the trucks. Now I'm going to show you the document manager. The document manager gives you the ability to store the registration, the DOT certificate, the IFTA, and the insurance. So when I showed you earlier where your drivers have access and the mechanic has access to see the registration and all those other documents, this is where you would control that. So let's start with a registration manager. It gives you a list of each of your trucks and shows you if it's blank, then you need to upload your registration, and you can take a picture with your phone. If you're doing this with your phone, it'll ask you to use the camera and take a picture right away. You don't have to take a picture separately outside the app and then come back in and upload it. This does it directly. And then the ones that already have it give you the opportunity just to view it or to erase it. And it's the same process. When you're done, you hit save. It's the same process for the DOT certificates and the IFTAs and the insurance. Now I will show you the common repairs page. And this is a list of all the repair types that show in that drop down that I showed you when we created the service records. You can add and create more of them here, and you can delete them. For example, I can delete this gibberish one, and it's removed. It's a very simple page. Just type it in, hit submit, and it's there, and it'll show up in the drop down. And lastly, I'm going to show you in this video the grand finale, everybody's favorite feature, the MMR creation. So you go to the MMR page, you select the date that you're creating it, and usually it would be towards the beginning of the month, but this doesn't matter for the video's purposes. I'll take it for... we'll do January's MMR. If we had any trucks out of service, there's the checkbox on the MMR page. So if you selected yes, it would ask you to check which trucks were out of service. So we're going to select no in this case. And now if you click View MMR, it's not going to show on the video just because of the video software, but on your phone or on your computer, it would show complete. But it has a list of all your trucks and their maintenance. After you view it, you can also email it directly to FedEx. Just click the email to FedEx, and that'll get sent directly to the FedEx representative that handles your MMRs. That is set in the settings page of the app. You just put in their email, and it stores it there. And then the same for email to me. You could send it to yourself so you can have your own copy. This already fills out your signature, and you don't have to print and sign them. It'll automatically put your signature in there. That's going to conclude this video. The app does have several other features, but I wanted to cover the major features in the app without making the video excessively long. I hope this clarifies anything. If you have any questions, please reach out to us. The number is 561-325-8939. You can call or text, or you can also email at support@mytruckmate.com.